get through just about anything.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Brian Kibler. It's round 2 of the Star City Games Live Open Series here in St. Louis. On your left, you can see Matthias, and that
Whose name is Hunt, not Hung. We have it. We have a typo on our names here.
He's a hunter. He with a blue-green wolf run, and on his right, his opponent, Chris Esquerra, playing mono red.
Not green, white,
mono red.
So we have a couple problems on display here, but so we're getting it corrected. Matthias Hunt, blue-green wolf run. Chris Esquerra, mono red. So we don't know who won the die roll, but they look to be shuffling for a while, so we maybe have some mulligans here.
Now, one thing to note here, 4 different archetypes we've seen so far.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to say, looking at Esquerra's deck, he has a fair number of 4-drops, 3 Koth of the Hammer, 2 Hero of Oxidridge. This is kind of a little bit more, when I say old school, I'm going to say pre-Darwin Castles influence, where Darwin really did shift a lot of the red decks into being like, top end? No. Let's do Chandra's Phoenix as my top end.
Yeah, these decks are definitely much more capable of the very, very aggressive starts. As you said, the 11 1-drops to enable Stormbolt Berserker. This version of red really recognizes where its power is.
Yeah.
The lower curve, or rather the lower curve version of red, recognize that what they're, as we were saying, what they're winning with is Stormbolt Berserker, Chandra's Phoenix, and Shrine. While Hero of Oxidridge used to be a powerhouse in the days of Squadron Hawk and even Wall of Omens and such. So it looks like both players are mulliganing to 5. We just got an update.
Wow.
Matthias Hunt is on the play. Matthias Hunt, by the way, your Rookie of the Year this past season. Congratulations to Matthias, an excellent accomplishment. But as you were saying, the versions of red that go sort of a bit bigger, they have a stronger game against some versions of control. Hero of Oxidridge helps you break through timely reinforcements, helps you break through formerly Squadron Hawk, and Koth of the Hammer makes your deck more resilient to removal against those sort of decks. But nowadays that Oblivion Ring is around, and nowadays that Squadron Hawk is not, I tend to be more a fan of the lower curve red decks.
Absolutely, I'm with you.
We also see only 22 land in Chris's deck here, which makes it pretty difficult to support those 5 4-drops.
I actually think he's running 1 land too short for what his deck is doing, and I definitely feel like this is not the world for Koth main. I know I did a rare thing the other day. I was listening to the Yo MTG Taps. Sorry, everyone out there that does podcasts. I usually don't have time for listening to podcasts, even if you do great podcasts. And I know that Big Head Joe, he said, what's the point of sideboarding Koth? I'll main deck Koth and then, take out the Koth against the bad players, or against the bad opponents. Well, for me, I feel like there is so much other aggression going on. Koth is not a card I'd like to see playing. And now, I'm somebody that, in my red history, I have played 4 Koth and then other 4-drops on top of it. We're on to turn 2 now on the camera. It looks like the Spike Shot Elder is coming in. Matthias was on the play. We've got 2 blue-green Hinterland Harbors.
And he draws a flip card?
I cannot tell what the Rampant Growth, the textless Rampant Growth.
Oh, so the flip card must be Garruk Relentless. He only has Garruk Relentless in his deck for transform cards.
Okay, so one of the things here with this, they're both, as you might have remembered, mulliganed twice. So they're coming from 5 cards here. I have to say that as long as Matthias hits his land, this should be to his advantage, because just in general... Oh, here we got the Chandra's Phoenix.
Yep, Phoenix comes down.
For Chris Esquerra...
3 damage.
For Chris Esquerra to be running only 22 lands and 5 4-drops, in order to get there, he really needs those cards. So I think it's going to hurt him a lot. However, as you can see, he's got a good... that's on the averages, and he's got some good stuff going down right now. Matthias is probably going to Garruk here, I think, and maybe take out the Spike Shot?
I'm not sure. I mean, he could also play Garruk, make a guy. That gives him a 2/2. If he kills a Spike Shot Elder, it just dies to Chandra's Phoenix next turn. He does kill the Spike Shot Elder, but...
Is that acidic slime in his hand?
I'm guessing so. It looks like the corner of the art. Oh, an
Aether Adept. I didn't even see what that was. Okay. Pops up the Phoenix. Okay, not seeing that, I actually very much like that play.
So he's tying up Chris's mana once again. So this Adept is going to hold off the Spike Shot Elder.
We could see something like a Koth or a Hero here, which would be very, very rough for Matthias.
Koth would certainly be the scariest card that we could see out of Chris right now for Matthias.
I mean, Koth, like we said with Gideon before, it kind of would say, hey, come at me, but you don't want to because they're coming at you. Here comes the Phoenix. Phoenix comes in alone.
So 2 damage for Matthias, putting him down to, I believe, 14. And Matthias draws another land. So he has
Acidic Slime.
Acidic Slime, and that Garruk in his hand. Ooh, he comes in.
He can Green Suns for Tree of Redemption.
That was interesting.
And so Gut Shot.
He attacks with his Aether Adept, and it trades with both Spike Shot and Gut Shot.
I'm going to tell you right now, kids out there, I think if you're running Gut Shot in mono red, it feels good, but I don't think it's good enough. So there we have a Garruk.
Garruk is on fire. Is that how the song goes?
I think that's how it goes. And Garruk does flip after killing Phoenix.
So eats the Phoenix, and while Phoenix can generally come back, that Garruk's going to need to die before it will. So
Arc Trail would be the god draw. No, that wouldn't even do it. My bad.
Arc Trail.
That doesn't do it because it's not another target.
Right. So for those of you out there who this is something that a lot of players actually do mistake. If a player has a Planeswalker, the Planeswalker, you can target the player and redirect damage to the Planeswalker. A Planeswalker isn't actually targeted by a burn spell, so an Arc Trail here could only target both Chris and Matthias, and he could redirect the damage to Garruk, but he couldn't damage both Matthias and Garruk.
Exactly. And I know that, but for half a second I was like, oh, and then oops.
It's one of the things when someone has 2 Planeswalkers out and you cast Slagstorm, you're like, all right, both of them, no, they don't both die.
I'm actually looking forward to the time when they make a card that lets you do damage to all Planeswalkers.
So
what do we have there?
Chris,
Arc Trail.
All right, Chris figures out how it works.
2 to you, or 2 to you, 1 to me.
So Chris takes 1 from his own Arc Trail and kills Garruk.
And we actually no, he did. There wasn't a wolf in play. Okay, yeah. So
no.
2 and 1.
So it looks like that was a Titan who just came down, and Acidic Slime is going to take out the green land.
And we're going to see a burn.
Volt Charge.
That's going to bring back the Chandra's Phoenix.
The Chandra's Phoenix.
I believe that's a must ability, so even if he forgot, a judge would have to step in and say, hey. Oh, we have a Shrine of Burning Rage.
I don't think the Shrine is going to match up particularly well against that Titan.
I agree. He's got to have the mana for it, but it's where do we got there?
Looks like another Garruk, the larger kind.
He does have 2 Primal Hunters in the deck.
So I think what we're going to see here is an attack. Garruk will make a beast.
That sounds reasonable.
So 2 damage coming in, though slowly. I think he may be considering whether he wants to Green Sun Zenith for Tree of Redemption here. That is an option. He has Tree in his main deck and access to 5 mana right now. But Slime comes in. I would certainly play the Garruk here. I would rather increase my clock.
I would rather too.
Your opponent only has 1 card that you know is Phoenix. No, he's going for the...
that seems a little bit too conservative to me.
Yeah, I think you need to put your opponent in a position where you're actually threatening to kill him. I mean, granted, you're most likely going to win with either line of play, but I think that playing the Garruk and getting that sort of stream going, because Garruk's generating you an advantage every turn.
Right, and that tree can do its work later.
Right, as long as you're at 14 life, you're actually not in any danger of dying. With the Garruk in play, every turn that Garruk's in play is better. So getting a Planeswalker down faster is in fact just strictly more powerful than getting it down slower, and the tree isn't going to have an impact unless he's actually going to need to use it to avoid dying, and he certainly wouldn't die next turn.
And there it looks like is the 6th land.
So,
is that right? Yep, there it is.
He's down to 9 life. I think our life totals were we had him at 14 before, but now he's actually at 9. That may be a little bit different then.
That's different if he's that low.
Because now a Volt Charge would put him in. Yeah, he wanted to be able to cast the Titan if he drew the land this turn. So with that change in the life totals, I actually do agree with this play.
Okay, yeah. I mean, the difference is that's a difference in life from what we understood him to be at.
Right.
He was at 11.
We had
him at 14.
Right. So that
11 is virtual 9, 14 is 12. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And he is fetching up he had an Inky there for a second, but he's changed his mind, and got himself some come to play tap lands, I think.
Got a red land and a wolf run.
There it is. There's the Crag, is it? No, it's a Copperline Gorge.
Copperline Gorge, wolf run, and
he already had the
Nexus,
Yankee.
enabling the threat of poison death, though it is more likely that he's going to kill him with that Titan.
Titan is such a quick clock.
It really is. Especially tight with wolf run. It's just because it just wolf runs for more and more each turn.
And the acidic slime is actually a little bit exciting with wolf run as well, because Death Touch and Trample, after they made the recent adjustment, the adjustment. Brutal. For those of you who don't know, Death Touch kills a creature when you do damage, and they changed Trample so that once you've dealt lethal damage, you can trample over. Mm-hmm. Well, that first point is considered lethal.
Right. That was actually sort of to fix what was one of the sort of patchy
very kludgy thing.
That Death Touch creatures could ignore the ordering of blockers or something.
And you know, that was something that I believe, and here we go, we have an attack with Acidic Slime and the Primeval Titan. This was something that was actually proposed initially by Randy Bueller, and I wrote about it in an article quite a while back, where it was Randy Bueller in a conversation, I think, on his website, was talking about how he didn't like certain rules, and that was actually not Randy Bueller so much as one of the people on his comment feed was like, you know, so user 37. And it's a great, elegant fix to the kludgy problem that was there before. And we see a block there with the Phoenix.
So Phoenix is getting in the way of, I'm assuming, Acidic Slime, though it's kind of between both Acidic Slime and Primeval Titan. It's going to block both of them. Blaze of Glory.
Oh, that's a good card. And we see a pump here for 5 or for 4? For 4, so that he can cast a Bird of Paradise afterwards. Puts it on the Acidic Slime. So that is a total of 12 trample damage. And it is a dead...
The Titan died?
Yeah, it died because there was the sacrificing of the shrine.
Oh, the shrine, okay. I was just like, what just happened?
We got Grim Lavamancer now facing off against a Wolf Run and a lot of resources.
Not a particularly good place to be. I mean, if we sort of rewind this game a little bit, you can remember the point where Chris blocked the Aether Adept?
Yes.
And lost his Spike Shot Elder, and used a Gut Shot. And I sort of questioned that when it happened. And
yes.
I definitely am questioning it now. I mean, if he had that access to that Spike Shot Elder now, he would be in much better shape. He would have potentially been able to kill the Garruk if it came down to kill his Phoenix with that Spike Shot Elder activation, save both the Gut Shot and the Spike Shot Elder, and perhaps use that Arc Trail that he drew. Granted, he probably drew later.
And also, I mean, it is probably inconsequential because of that tree.
Right.
But still, I mean, it's that roll decision thing. Mm-hmm. He made the decision there to throw away 2 cards and a damage source.
To essentially protect his life total.
Right. And is that what he wants to be doing?
Particularly in a situation where both players have mulliganed to 5 and are low on resources.
Yes.
The maximization of your resources there. I mean, the following turn, he could have activated the Elder and used Gut Shot and killed it.
Yes.
So it was definitely a confusing play to me. So, all right, we see Incinerate, which is taking out that slime.
He is the control deck. So if you think about this here, right? Incinerate plus Grim Lavamancer would have Matthias at virtual 4, which would start making that tree want to think about doing its work.
Well, he is at 5 life facing
a Wolf Run.
The Wolf Run. So I'm not sure when exactly he did this, because
during combat before an attacker was...
I would probably wait until the Wolf Run was activated, but... So we see Inkmoth Nexus come in for the full amount. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 poison. Chris goes to 7 poison.
It's a shame he didn't have any way to kill the creature that got pumped. He said sarcastically.
So Chris is just going with Lavamancer again. I'm not really sure what's happening here.
Maybe he's trying to make a Berserker work.
Oh, he is? Okay. But isn't he just dying to
does he have an empty hand now?
I think he does. I think he's just dead.
Okay. Chris appears to be a dead man.
Activate 3 Nexus, attack you.
Zom.
Alright, so there it is. Matthias Hunt capes game 1 with his interesting blue-green wolf for neck. We didn't really see the blue coming into play there, though that Aether Adept did have an interestingly large impact in the game.
Well, he just hung it out there and, like, popped back a Phoenix.
So how do you think these 2 decks are going to sideboard?
Wow. Matthias Hunt is going to bring in 4 Sensory Deprivation.
Deep. Matthias Hunt is going pretty deep. Sensory Deprivation.
He is going to bring in 4 Sensory Deprivation. He's going to bring in 3 Flash Freeze, because you don't have Flash Freeze on your board unless you plan to bring it against red. He's going to bring in 2...
I don't know if that's true, actually.
I think that it's pretty true.
I very often have Flash Freeze in my sideboard and not running against red decks.
That's very interesting. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
2 Batter Skulls are going to come in, and I think he will think about Viridian Corruptor as a cheap way to kill a Shrine. But that is a lot of cards. That is 10 cards.
That is quite a few cards.
And 10 cards is a lot of stuff. Perhaps he would take out Cackling Counterpart because he can't count on there being a creature in play for him to cackle.
My favorite part about Cackling Counterpart is the sound effect.
What's the sound effect?
I think it's actually required that you do that anytime you play it. I haven't actually seen other people do that, so I don't understand why they don't get game losses. But I do that every time I play it.
I think you take out 2 Acidic Slime because it's a little slow. I think you take out 2 Aether Adept because even though you can use it to reset a Berserker, you have Sensory Deprivation to do that.
Yeah.
And I think you cut out something after that, maybe some of your Frosties. But right now you're at 6, and you want to have some top end to do something.
I mean, maybe some of his Garruks?
Actually, Garruk Primal Hunter, I could see him going down to 1 Garruk Primal Hunter. I like Garruk Relentless against him.
I agree. I think Garruk Primal Hunter is the weaker card. In particular, as we were saying before, the ability of a card like that to stop red decks is much different than it used to be.
Absolutely.
Fighting against Stormblade Berserker and against Chandra's Phoenix is not something that Garruk does well. You spend 5 mana and can't block their attacker.
To be fair, also, I think he might drop down to 1 Bird of Paradise. Like, he does those 6 cards we talked about.
Maybe.
Take out 1 Garruk, take out 3 birds, because he's seeing Gut Shot from his opponent. And he doesn't necessarily need to be as fast if he's sensory depriving.
That's true.
Okay.
I don't know if depriving is the word.
Depriving, how about that?
Depriving him of his senses.
Yes. On the other hand, Chris has Traitorous Blood, which is very valuable against Titans. Arc Trail and Gut Shot I expect to see come in.
So what do you think he brings out?
That's a tough one. Goblin Fire... No, he's so hard. Hero?
What are your thoughts about Shrine of Burning Rage in this matchup?
From what Chris saw, he doesn't actually realize how controlling Matthias' deck is. Matthias' deck is like controlling enough that I think Shrine actually can be of value, but it is not a fast card.
Yeah, I'm generally not a fan of Shrine against the ramp decks. I just think that you need to be, in particular against a deck that, at least as far as you can tell, doesn't have any way to actually wipe your board. I think that you need to have your cards be focused on generating as much aggression as possible, and Shrine just isn't a card that's putting much pressure on. Shrine is a card that is winning you a long game, but you're just not going to win a long game against a Titan deck anyway.
I could definitely see that be your spot then. Yeah, but I think it's just going to be 3 Traitorous Blood, maybe only 2, but 2 or 3 Traitorous Blood, Arc Trail, Gut Shot. And maybe Hero is not particularly exciting against a deck that has he saw Aether Adept and Acidic Slime.
Yeah, I think I'd still want Hero here. I think that from what you've seen, your opponent looks like they have a bunch of mana creatures. It looks like they have you haven't seen Slagstorm. You haven't seen things that are going to punish you for overextending. You really haven't seen mana that can possibly cast these things too. So that's a deck that I want Hero against, I think. I think you want to hit fast and hit hard and try and take advantage of the fact that your opponent can't punish you for it.
You take out Volt Charge then?
Volt Charge is marginal here. I do like Volt Charge being able to pump Stormkirk Noble and Stormblade Berserker.
And he's got Koth.
Yeah, I mean being able to ultimate Koth quickly is pretty powerful. But again, even ultimating Koth against a deck like this is sometimes not enough.
I think
you're usually going to win if you ultimate a Koth, but
yeah.
You're actually playing against a deck that can beat an ultimate Koth.
This is true.
So Koth's actually, I think, a card that I'm less excited about than Hero.
I feel the other way.
Okay.
Like the.
I actually think both of them are good. But.
I feel like the Koth is going to create threats that are harder to answer than the hero, because the hero can be answered through so many different means, and the Koth has to be attacked.
Right. Yeah. Though I mean, Here
we go.
All right, we're on the Chris is on the play here. I don't think we had any mulligans that I'm aware of. So
definitely 2 birds of paradise in Matthias's hand,
and an island. So. It's interesting that Matthias has 6 basic forests and 3 Copperline Gorge that can actually cast Tornwind Bird.
Inky, go.
It looks like he doesn't have any green sources at all.
No green sources, no sensory deprivation. This seems like a mulligan to me unless he already mulliganed.
I'm a little confused that Matthias has these cards still in his hand.
Turn 3, we are going to see probably a Phoenix. And in they come for 5.
So I think this game's over.
I think this game... Wow.
Oh,
wait, what did he do? What? He did not attack with his Phoenix.
Maybe it's not over. He's just going to choose not to attack.
I mean, he cast it before combat. Sensory deprivation finally comes down. Matthias is okay.
Just the island.
He's got a Phoenix over there and 2 more life than he should have.
And there's a shrine. So Phoenix may choose to attack this turn.
We'll have to see. It's who knows.
It's a mind of its own.
Okay.
I mean, I guess his thought was that he didn't want to get a -1/-1 counter on his Phoenix, but if he got a -1/-1 counter on his Phoenix, that his Noble lives.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the thought process was, but here we're going on, and Matthias still does not have another land. He's got a Batterskull in his hand.
I'm very, very confused that Matthias kept this hand. He didn't have a sensory deprivation in his opener, as we saw from that original Noble not getting deprived, and no green sources whatsoever.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was not a keeper.
All right, we see just the concession here. So
1-1.
That is about what I would expect to have happened with that hand from Matthias. So I'm a little confused by his choice to keep that, but looks like we're going to see a game 3 after a very quick game 2.
We did see Batterskull and sensory deprivation,
both of which we assumed that Matthias was going to bring in. So those are certainly cards that are in the sideboard for this matchup. So we did see Chris with Shrine in his deck, which I don't think is terribly surprising. Though I do think I still do think I disagree with that choice. We didn't really see any sideboard cards from him.
I agree. We did not.
The only cards that it would clearly be a sideboard card would be Traitor's Blood, because the Arc Trail, Gutshot, and Incinerate we thought he might bring in are all copies of cards that are already in his main deck.
You know, I'm still not sure about Shrine coming in or out. Mm-hmm. We have the benefit of seeing the deck lists. Mm-hmm. And that makes a big difference, because seeing Matthias's deck list, I agree with you. Mm-hmm. But only with Chris not having seen the deck list, I could see him feeling like this is a matchup where he needs to keep it in.
Okay. So, my opinion here is really that the Shrines are just not the sort of card that are going to win, a long game against a deck like Wolfrun. I like Shrine for sure against other sort of control decks, that you're going to go to a long game against, and that you really want that extra damage over the course of a bunch of turns. But the Wolfrun deck can just end the game so quickly that I think that a card like Shrine of Burning Rage really isn't where you want to be with mono red. In particular, because so many of your creatures are so good against them because they don't have the ability to sweep your board. So players are shuffling up for game 3. Matthias Hunt is on the left of your screen with blue-green Wolfrun. Chris Esquerra on the right with mono red. Matthias Hunt, the winner of the Rookie of the Year award this year. And he's shown up with some pretty cool decks all season. He was the designer of the blue-green-red Scapeshift deck that Jason Ford played to win the first Grand Prix of the year, Grand Prix Atlanta, in the extended format. And has shown a lot of cool brews, and this is one more of them. So Matthias Hunt starts off. Doesn't look like either player mulliganed. And we are off to game 3. A Copperline Gorge for Matthias, and followed up by a Mountain and Grim Lavamancer from Chris. Matthias has the crucial turn 2 Rampant Growth to accelerate his mana. Chris is debating his turn 2. I think we're going to see that Lavamancer attack for sure. So Matthias goes down to 19 life, and Chris plays a Stormkirk Noble, which I'm guessing he probably drew this turn. Matthias draws, and it looks like he's looking for another land. No, he has, that looks like a Hinterland Harbor, so I think we might see Harbor, and he has a flip card, so that's certainly a Garruk. So I'm guessing we're going to see Harbor eat something. Garruk is a card that got a lot less hype than Liliana of the Veil when Innistrad was first released, but has proven itself to be an incredibly powerful planeswalker. The board impact that it can have against a creature deck when it comes down, just eat something right away, is absolutely huge, and its ability to churn out 2/2 creatures against control decks or any deck just when it doesn't need to eat something is not to be ignored.
I mean, there's a way in which you can compare it to Gideon in that way. Mm-hmm. It can be a creature killer, or it can be something that's producing a threat to end the game.
Absolutely.
And, there's a reason that we saw Joe Bernal really early after the printing of Innistrad, top 8, a Star City Games event, with a mono-red deck, well, not mono-red, a red deck with a splash just for the Garruk.
Yeah. He had Wolf Run as well, I believe.
Yes.
So we see Chandra's Phoenix come down for Chris, fights Garruk, and Stormkirk Noble hits Matthias, so Noble will get a counter. Matthias draws a card. Looks like he drew a Viridian Emissary. Emissary is a very powerful card against red decks. That was a card that we saw in the earliest versions of Wolf Run when Mono Red was an extremely popular deck.
Absolutely.
And that card was just a nightmare for Mono Red.
I mean, you see it and you're like, oh, what do I do now?
Right.
It's not even a human.
Yeah. When I was building my Rug deck back in the early stages of the format, Viridian Emissary was a card that when I found it, I was like, oh wow, this is exactly what I felt like I wanted at that point. Because against the beatdown decks, it was a speed bump that could help ramp your mana up to Garruk or Titan. And against the control decks, back then, the control decks were all Liliana decks. And I really liked it at protecting my other creatures from Liliana. I think that in general, the value of Viridian Emissary has gone down as the creature decks have become decks that are much better suited to fighting against Viridian Emissary, as well as the control decks have sort of shifted to be more sort of big effect decks and moved away from Liliana.
We see Viridian Emissary here holding off the Noble.
Yep.
The Phoenix still comes in, and a Berserker follows up.
Oh, okay, we saw Berserker get... Is that another Berserker in his hand? Or is that a Volt Charge in his hand? I think he may be...
Matthias is in real trouble here.
He doesn't look to have... Yeah, it looks like his hand is just land. He has a bunch of ramp spells and nothing. That's one of the definite issues with the ramp decks, is that they are extremely threat-light. I mean, if we look at Matthias' deck, he has 4 Frost Titan, 2 Primeval Titan, and 4 Green Sun Zenith that really represent anything that has a big impact. Granted, he does have Garruks, and he is a bit more threat dense than some of the versions, like the one Iniaga won the World Championships with, was basically 8 Titans, 2 Zenith, done. That was what he had.
Volt Charge before combat. He wants to check to make sure that he can make his Noble big enough to be able to just march in there.
Was he Volt Charging the face, or was he Volt Charging the Emissary?
I think he's Volt Charging the face. He better be Volt Charging the face. There we go.
All right. Well, Volt Charging the face does the same damage as Volt Charging the Emissary, assuming the Emissary hit, or assuming the Noble hits.
No, right? Like,
well, it'd be 3 damage. Either way. But this way, you're guaranteed the damage.
Yeah.
So.
There could be a trick, like a Snapcaster.
Right. If your Noble dies or leaves play. Yeah, the Noble would actually be able to get an additional counter if he hits him with it as well. So.
Yeah.
But I mean, at this point, Matthias is at 7 life, so.
I think that's it.
There
you go.
Oh wow. So Matthias Hunt, after a sketchy keep in game 2,
that was a pretty sketchy keep.
Manages to just not be able to find a threat in game 3 and falls to Chris Esquerra 2-1. So you said you wanted to see some mono red, and there's some mono red.
Well, I mean, I think that the one play that we did see that was clearly red was the not attacking with the Phoenix.